and Wally Whiff for Deja Vu. Now, Ollie the Persian Dude, my question is for you. Always rocking the darkness, and is that, ooh, what is that?
A cheeseburger.
Well, obviously, I just want to know what kind of cheeseburger, my man. Anyways.
I know that much.
There we go. All right, so my question for you is, your team looked very promising after picking up Rom and Feel My Potato, but I almost want to say after losing DRS, something's kind of changed within the team, and it seems as though you guys don't gel as well as you did. What do you attribute that to? Am I right, or is it something else?
I feel like you're right. I have no idea, to be honest. Yeah, we got that gel with Dendi and Romstar, but then dropped DRS, and yeah, I agree with you. But his schedule's been fixed around, so we've been able to play with him a little bit more in these games. So hopefully that'll be corrected. But I don't know, just the gel, there's just been something that's just not been gelling there. I don't know what it is.
So this is towards you, Wally, and this is maybe more for you personally than Deja Vu as a whole. You guys picked up Aggressor, who kind of just got up and disappeared without saying a whole lot to Rival. Does that kind of worry you a little bit, that someone's just willing to just get up and disappear without a word, and that's someone that you've just added to your team?
Well, from what I was told, at least, I don't think it exactly went down like he just kind of left. I don't know, maybe he just felt like the team he was playing with wasn't the caliber he wanted. I have no idea. We liked him, we picked him up. Even though a lot of people, some people say he's not the greatest player, can be a little edgy, but we like him a lot, so that's why we picked him up.
Can I just say something to you real quick, Wally?
Yeah, sure. What's up?
Hey, man, the room looks great. I like it.
You mean the pack that I just moved the green screen up 5 feet? Yeah, sure.
Yeah, because I can't see. It looks clean, and that's all that matters.
Yeah, exactly.
Totally thank God you can't see my room because it's a mess.
Yeah. Yo, how's that burger though? I want to.
That's what I want to know. So the next question.
It looks delicious.
Bacon, cheese, bacon, you know what I'm saying? Mustard, ketchup. Number one high sandwich.
Yeah.
So then I guess it's just down to final thoughts. Ollie the Persian Dude, what do you got to say with a mouthful of burger to Wally Whiff before we get into this?
I want to give a shout out to Max Putin. Him and Ramstein and me were on Ding last season. And if you didn't join High, if you joined Deja Vu, you're dead to me, Max.
Wally, what do you got, man? What do you got for him?
Hey, good luck, and next time if we meet on land, you gonna buy me a burger, right? I'm kind of.
Oh, hell yeah, bro! Hell yeah.
Cool. We good. All right.
All right. Thank you guys for joining us. Good luck, and we'll see you out there.
Ollie the Persian Dude, always the entertainer. I want to see what he looks like in the light. I feel like he's one of those vampiric creatures that we may never see, but from what I'm told, he's beautiful. I don't know.
Yep, and eating that burger, I'm sitting here. I'm super hungry now,
right?
all of a sudden out of nowhere.
I mean, let's be honest. Me or you, by the way, we both don't need burgers. Our physiques are not perfect, but damn, did that look good. And it's just the way he was eating it, I guess. I don't know.
Yep, but I like that take out of Wally, and I also, just something that Wally said is Aggressor felt that Rival weren't the caliber of team that he's used to. Kind of fighting words there, not to put words in Wally's mouth.
Not in Wally's mouth, but from Aggressor.
From Aggressor,
again,
so
we don't know the exact reasoning for why he left Rival. I mean, Executive said he doesn't really know what happened, or the team of Rival don't really know what happened to Aggressor, and then now we hear Aggressor doesn't really like the situation over at Rival. The logistics aren't known. The details aren't known.
Here's another thing to keep an eye on is Rival should be... They're looking good to make the online playoffs, especially if they do get a result versus M60s tonight. So, who are they going to play in the online playoffs? Depends on the seeding and where everyone finishes. Mm-hmm. But that could have them squaring off versus Deja Vu,
which would be very interesting.
That would be a good time. So, we have to see if it gets there. A lot of things have to happen before that.
Speaking of Rival, sorry to interrupt, but it's 3-3 right now between Rival and AM60s.
So that series is going either way. Even just a point for Rival, if they can get one more round, a point would be huge and just separating them from these bottom half teams, especially with only 2 match days left after this.
Yeah, say what you will with Aggressor's comment as far as them not being to the caliber, but Rival is turning it up right now, and I'm very impressed with the way they've been able to turn this around, as I am with 07.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking down at my notes here, Rival have Eclipse up next, and then High for their last match. So High is the match where you think they would have to
You
get
would
some points.
favor them, right?
Yeah. Now the other match, not
Hey,
so much.
honestly, with the way Rival is playing, I don't know. Especially after what we saw again tonight with 07 taking out Eclipse, you could argue that maybe Rival could follow suit. Now, I would imagine Eclipse would want to avenge that loss, especially by keeping a clean record and not losing another one. We'll have to see. But tonight, so about this very last match, it's going to be High versus Deja Vu predictions.
5-1 Deja Vu.
You know what? I'm going to say High is going to take this, and it's going to be 5-3 in High's favor.
That's interesting. I want to see how the new additions for Deja Vu get added into the lineup. I don't think we'll see Maktat Putin tonight, from what I heard. But as Ali the Persian dude said, even if he does see him, he's dead to him. So former teammates, they're not too happy with each other.
I'm just something about that burger and Ali the Persian dude is making me feel it their way. Anyways, let's get into the first map between High and Deja Vu.
Himmelsdorf, a small city map. The teams start the battle in opposite corners. Both bases are located close to each other, but in a way that you can't stay on the defensive all the time. The main attack routes pass through the hill, the alley and the railroad, but in general, the attack can be successfully executed through any part of the map. Heavy tanks and tank destroyers with powerful guns run the show here. However, a lot depends on the mobile light tanks.
And as we head into the final series of the night, first map between these two teams, it is going to be High bringing a 1390, two 113s, 250Bs, an i7, and a Batshat. Meanwhile, on the side of, it says Rival, but it's actually going to be Aggressor on Deja Vu. They're going to have 215B, 250Bs, an E3, two 215Bs, and then a 113 and a 1390.
Yeah, and so a little bit of tidbit here is I was misinformed.
Maktat is actually going to be joining us.
Just as soon as he's on the roster, he's in here playing, as is Aggressor right now. So Chase just trying to get some early lights across. He will light Fulcrus, moving up to that 8-line position.
So let me explain my prediction, because I would agree with you that this is in Deja Vu's favor. However, shots on Aggressor early. I really feel that High, they're very aware of the situation their team's in right now, being at the bottom, and I feel like this is the game that's going to help them rally if they can win it to stay out of automatic relegation.
Yeah,
especially with the addition of Aggressor, it's almost like a kind of mixed bag situation where it's either going to work for them or it's not.
The pressure is definitely there. However, Deja Vu, while they haven't been performing as well against the top teams, they're still very solid.
True.
And I just don't know that High, even with that extra motivation, has what it takes to beat them right now.
So, again, back to what I was saying, my whole reasoning is going to come to this. I think they're going to pull something somewhat, not crazy, but unexpected out of the bag, and it may catch Deja Vu off guard, and that's why I've predicted the 5-3 in their favor.
We'll have to see. And that would be a whole lot of things that would have to be offhand. You got to remember, Deja Vu are the kings at random. Some of those strats they come up with have been out there. And so if I can pull a number like that on them, that would be impressive. However, it's not what I'm expecting at all.
And I would say that you are very fair in expecting exactly what you just said, but we'll have to see.
So another little shout out here real quick is to Blue Mini, who's actually 6th overall in the league as far as tanks spotted at 109 on the season. So as a caller, he's also typically that tier 8 player. And he has been in that position so consistently through the season. 109 spot on the season. That's not bad at all. Meanwhile, Chase Potato is actually in 7th, right behind Blue Mini with 103 spotted. So both these players for their teams, end up in those light tank roles, and they do a pretty good job at gathering the intel that they need for their team. And overall, a pretty good setup for High, that they have this the 113 guarding this 1390, and the response out of Deja Vu is Chase Potato and Harmless pushing across the south. So we'll have to see if they can get in behind. It looks like Chase is going to go up on the hill, where High don't have anything left.
And I always get thrown off excuse me, by High's camo, because it is the only camo that we've seen that is actually like legitimate. It looks like legitimate camo, and you've alluded to that before.
And even then, it doesn't look like good camo. It just looks like camo.
That's rude. I do like the sharp. I like talking about these camos for a second here as well. A lot of these camos look really neat, and I think they're a really good way to for a team to express their personality. And you see a lot of sharp, rigid lines coming out of Deja Vu, which is sometimes how they like to play, and then other times they play very loose. But Chase Potato taking damage. I didn't actually see from where.
And My Little Putin just puts Chase Potato straight up in the air.
How rude! Chase, why? They knew the IS-7 was there.
Yeah, it boosted him for a little bit.
15 seconds left, though. Wait a second. High. And they're getting a lot of mileage out of that as they're putting quite a bit of damage onto the team of Deja Vu. Beautiful crossfire setup here with Feel My Potato as well as Magenta Pan and Ali the Persian Dude to capitalize on this. They are going to get reset, but look at the damage Deja Vu has taken. And there it is. DRS is back. Takes out Aggressor.
Yeah, so overall, not working out for Deja Vu. However, they're still in this. Blue does finally get a reset a minute ago, and now he's just trying to get in there and get his gun in the fight.
Oh, but trades are coming out for Deja Vu as they do take out a tank, but Blue Mini trades right back.
Some good shots on the MacTap Putin there. However, return fire does go on Ali.
I might note that was Ali the Persian Dude who literally stepped out of his way to shoot MacTap Putin.
They will focus him first, so because they can leave that E3 kind of spinning in circles where he can't really keep any of them.
I'm trying to spin a story here, James. A story of hatred and betrayal. And High looks like they are going to clean this one up.
Yeah, well, it's going to be Ali the Persian Dude that comes out on top in that story of hatred and betrayal. So,
I mean, with the help of some friends, sure. And now it's just left to the lone tank of My Little Putin. He's going to be in that 50B, and he is reloading. And Ali the Persian Dude still with shells in his clip. He's going to clean it up. And already 1-0 in favor of High. Could I be right? Could I? I'm not saying, oh, all of a sudden I'm right. But that wasn't bad. In fact, that was rather dominating the way they positioned themselves. The crossfire were great over that 2-cap. Looked good to me.
Overall, it was a pretty consistent setup. I do like the play there out of High, and they, if anything, I think Deja Vu just responded to it poorly. And Malo Putin just used Chase Potato as a sacrificial lamb, just threw him up on top there.
He literally did the.
You like see a little 1390. Yeah, 1390 just goes up, and he just gets blended out. And all they were trying to do was get him up there so he could get a reset on the blue real quick.
Yeah, I know.
And
it was still hilarious to watch.
Instead, just Fixer Reloaded was just having none of it and just blasted him out of the. Well, not Fixer. Who was the IS-7? That was Fulcrus. There you go. Yeah, and he just said, nope, none of that, and just blasted him out of there. So, not bad out of
High.
High
is the team you're looking for.
Sorry, just taking care of something real quick
okay.
as we go into our stats.
Yeah, so looking at the damage, Ali the Persian Dude, again, he is generally the top damage dealer for High. And here it is again, doing 4,300. And Rude Awakening, meanwhile, following with 33 and the Magenta Panda 29. You want to talk about a good spread. That's one to have. On the side of Deja Vu, though, you have a good top 3 spread as well, 24, 24, and 23, but then it falls off drastically. Chase Potato again. That was just very rude.
Yeah, so Ali the Persian Dude, maybe a little bit extra motivated since he saw Macta up on the other side, and 4,300, so not bad there. And Ali is actually the leader in damage for his team so far this season. He is.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so now we're going to play the same game that you just played with me without looking at the score or knowing what it is. Offline match, rival versus M60s. Score prediction.
I want to say it's 4-3 in favor of the Quad M60s.
It is 4-4. Going to overtime.
Oh, man. Well, okay. I got to slow my thoughts are going at 1,000 miles a minute. Really good on rival to take Aquatic M60s into overtime. This is, again, showing that the new rival is much more consistent and just a much better cohesive unit. But, man, Aquatic M60s, being my team, they really needed now, because it's not possible, they really needed that relegation win.
Yeah, absolutely. And, looking at it, that's a big point for Rival in the standings overall. You got to think that one extra point should be what they need to kind of separate themselves from the rest of these teams.
Absolutely.
Especially
Again, Rival,
with 07 getting that win tonight.
Good on you.
And looking at the lineups here, Deja Vu, 4 113s, 250Bs, and a 1390. Meanwhile, High coming in with an IS-4, 2 113s, 250Bs, a 183, and a 1390.
Yeah, that 215B 183, that's a big alpha gun.
So, that said, we are into our next round. Round number 2. High are on defense this time, and they're actually going with a rather odd split. They've just have DRS over on the 1 cap for eyes, and the rest of High are just pushing straight to the 8 line, looking to try to catch out Deja Vu on some sort of rotate.
Not a defense I've actually seen too often from any of the teams in the Gold League. This is very aggressive from them, with only leaving DRS over there at the 2 line down by the 1 cap.
And Ali the
That
Persian
could be
dude,
a very interesting situation that's either created for or against High.
Yeah, the thing is Ali the Persian dude stuck his neck out a little bit too far there right at the corner. And it's actually the tank of Zurgil in that 113 who's sitting there in that cubby at G7. It has just the perfect angle to see over the rubble and down that hallway and catch tanks that were down there. And so it forced Ali to move so it didn't look like they were setting up a trap. And so he's had to come all the way down here. I do not believe that was the original intent. I think they were trying to spring a trap, but the second he got spotted, they said, all right, the gig's up, so we need to show something else. And so that's when they started to flex out, and now he's come up to this window.
Oh, and he's found a shot onto Zurgil. So overall, not a terrible start for him. And there's another one.
But IS-4 is a pretty mean tank to play hold down like that. The turret is very, very strong. It does have a little bit of a weak spot on the top, the flat plate there, but it's very hard to hit unless you're in a big tank that's very tall shooting down. Any 100 point blank can kind of get some shots on it.
Yeah, but I mean, a 113, I'm assuming from that angle, isn't really going to have the shot he wants.
No, he shouldn't, even with the heat shells. And you got to remember, Zurgil's actually below him. And on top of that, Ali the Persian dude has his tank angled upwards, so there is no way for him to even remotely come close to shooting that.
So, I mean,
top
from
plate.
that angle, is it even possible to pen?
Not likely. It would be some sort of freak shot and some weird angle that I don't know about. But you would have to think that Ali the Persian dude, at least in this position, should be pretty strong. If someone could get up on the hill and maybe open up something from the side, then yeah, he'll have some problems. But hold down in this window, I don't see him losing more than maybe 1 shot of HP in the long run.
Well, meanwhile, though, he's put on good damage on a Zurgil.
Yeah, absolutely. And Higher just setting up, but it's kind of an odd split because they have these tanks up on the hill. They have Ali sitting there at the D line, and then they have just a couple tanks over towards B2. And the thing is a lot of teams will assume there are going to be more guns over here, so until they know that these tanks are up on the hill, they won't think that there's some sort of overmatch they can gain. Now, the problem is Deja Vu, well, they've committed aggressor over towards that 1 line. They really haven't committed too much else, and so they're actually sitting in a pretty good position to spring a trap onto this push out of High. And a trap we might have.
Yeah, look at this. Ooh, feel my potato. In a very bad situation, has always been taken out. Magenta Panda steps forward, but what a shot through that little window. My little Putin.
Yeah, they just caught the rotate out. It was a great bait out of Deja Vu. They kind of pressured that 2 cap, hoped that High would flank down the 0 or down the 8 line, and they were set up for it. And they got a tank and a half for free out of that.
Yeah. And now looking at the HP lead, it is definitely in favor of Deja Vu by at least 2,000.
Yeah, absolutely. And Blue is kind of caught in an awkward spot here. He had to commit to get the reset.
He is going to find Chase, but he should go down here to Aggressor in that 113, trying to back off and angle his armor so that he's going to be safe. Actually, no, he's going to make it out.
Now, Ali the Persian dude's taking a lot of damage, and there's just damage going everywhere from everyone on this team right now.
Yeah, Magenta Panda as well is about 1 shot away, depending on the role in the tank he's shot by. He could go down in 1 shot. Deja Vu, meanwhile, is very healthy.
Yeah, they're set up in very good positions, and especially after they got that HP lead off Feel My Potato and then Magenta Panda. Just overall, it was good stuff out of Deja Vu there, and they're trading very well right now. And
an Aggressor finding Blue Mini is not going to help the situation any further for High.
Yeah, absolutely. And so you got to got to favor Deja Vu's positioning overall right now, and they're starting to get some cap pressure going. They have hill control, so they can punish anything coming across the B line, and they also have a pretty healthy amount of tanks sitting down in the south, so they can't really push through the courtyard or the D line there.
This may, at this point, almost be just cleanup for Deja Vu, as it looks like this is going to be a very convincing tie now.
Yeah, absolutely. And looking at it, Milo Putin just coming in here in this 50B, he should just be able to play cleanup here pretty soon. They will find Ali the Persian dude along with Mactap Putin, and maybe Mactap gets some revenge.
Nope, it's nationwide. I do want to add that we have two Putins next to each other.
Yep, Mactap Putin and My Little Putin. So I wonder where that inspiration comes from. Kind of hard to figure out.
Yeah, I wouldn't guess.
So that said, it's 1-1, and the next map is going to be Muravanka, a map that
Oh, I remember the last time High was on this.
that was
map.
I want to say the word I want to go with is interesting.
Entertaining.
Take your pick. There's a whole
There's
number
a
of
plethora.
adjectives that would fit that one.
Overall, Deja Vu, I mean, they lost the first battle relatively convincingly, I would say. And then on the return, they dominated the second battle on offense.
Yep. So another thing to keep in mind here, this is kind of interesting, is on Muravanka. I just looked at my notes. Muravanka is one of the maps where both of these teams actually have a negative win rate on overall. Both of them, not just one of them. So that's
Something
kind
to
of
think about.
interesting.
Yeah.
So
it's really hard to favor either team then.
yeah, exactly. So, and we've seen some stuff out of both teams that's been promising. Deja Vu started off with some pretty ingenious strats versus Eclipse very early on in the season.
Where I think they almost got a tank for free.
Oh, they did. They caught out. They caught out T1 Diabetic with that new play. But then they turned around and it was High that won 6v7 versus Eclipse. So both of those teams actually having good rounds versus Eclipse on Muro. So something to be said there, I guess. But overall, you gotta like it out of both teams.
Well, looking at the damage here real quick before we get into that map, it was Rude Awakening doing only 1,600 for High. The damage, honestly, for High, just in general, was very low. But My Little Putin finding 3,800 points worth of damage, and then Aggressor doing 2,700, followed by Harmless. So.
Yeah, and then, Rude Awakening, top of his team at 1,600. When your top damage dealer is only at 1,600 and the next best is at 1,300, there's most likely something wrong with your team there, or how that round played out. So just none of the guns really able to get into that fight.
Yeah. Well, going into the next one, we'll have to see how High does. Again, I still stick to my prediction. For some reason, I'm feeling a 5-3 in favor of High. And overall, prediction-wise tonight, I haven't been too far off.
Yep, so we are actually being delayed by just a second. So, yeah, a little off-broadcast issue they're trying to sort out right now.
Okay.
But that being said, another little tidbit I just picked up on, unrelated. Neither of the teams from that from Rival versus M60s, through that whole series, not a single team won on attack.
Really?
So that means to decide the tiebreaker, they have to sit there and total up all of the damages that both teams did and figure out who did more damage through the whole series.
Oh, is that how they do it if no one's won on attack?
That's the second tiebreaker. So I feel bad for whichever one of our admins has to deal with that right now.
Yeah, that's
going to be a whole lot of fun sitting there with your calculator.
That's not the most favorable thing. I mean, you've seen me on this show try to do math. It's embarrassing to say the least.
Yep. So
really good with nothing, actually. Not really good with anything.
So they did fix the issues that we were having. So the countdown has begun. So we'll begin here in just a moment.
Yes.
Yeah.
English isn't your strongest.
Never said it was.
No, you didn't. And I've stumbled as well. We're like two sides of the same coin.
Yep.
A very large coin.
50 cents.
There you go.
So that said,
I don't really know what's going to happen in this map, to be honest.
Yeah, it's 1-1, and neither of these teams have a particularly impressive record.
They're
on
not
it.
very special, on Muravanka.
They both. It's not either their most played map or their least played map. They're both have a negative win rate on it, sitting around 40%.
There.
Yeah, and we've seen some good stuff out of both of them occasionally, but more often than not.
I mean, High 6v7 against Eclipse, but you could easily say that was Eclipse just just dropping the ball completely.
But then you got to kind of worry if that kind of seeps into their mentality, like, hey, we 67 Eclipse on this map, so, maybe we're hot stuff on this right now. So, who knows? Maybe a little bit of an awkward morale boost.
I don't think that's what they were thinking just by listening to comms.
Fair. I will give you that one.
Please, if you haven't, go back and watch that broadcast. But, yeah, let's just get right into it. It's going to be Muro with high-end Deja Vu.
Muravanka, a map with a great number of buildings, bushes and trees, amongst which teams hide for most of the battle. The attacking team begins the battle from the top of the village, and the defenders start from the bottom of the map. Both bases are better controlled from the hill near the first base, and from the green in the lower left corner of the map. There are many attack directions. The attacking team often attempts to gain the attention of defenders by putting pressure on the first base, whilst manoeuvring several tanks behind the second base to deliver fire into the defending's flank. Team setups are very diverse, but the players often choose the fastest tanks, even for heavy setups. They could even bring SPGs.
So we are into battle number 3. The series is tied up 1-1. High coming in with a 113, 2 T-57s, an E5, a Batchat, a TVP, and an RU-251. Meanwhile, Deja Vu, a Leopard 1 for the second time tonight.
Second time tonight, right. And it's going to be
none all season, and then twice in one night. Interesting.
And then 4 Batchats, a Grill 15, and then a Lorraine 155-51. This is something that we actually see Eclipse do a lot on this map. They tend to favor that. I just don't know. You know how I feel about it. Not that my opinion is really that highly valued when it comes to this specific strategy, but I don't know, James.
See, the thing is this whole push,
the damage just isn't there for me, and obviously that's not what that tank is there for. That RD is there to simply get the resets, but then if your team finds itself in an unfavorable situation, you essentially are just down a tank outright.
Yep, and the biggest thing that I don't like about this play at a Deja Vu is they're not committing.
Blue Mini's already out of the fight. Sorry, continue.
It's just the split that Deja Vu didn't really commit. Now, provided they had no way of knowing that they had an overmatch. However, because they decided to bail out, they just lost a lot of HP. They haven't really been able to get a whole lot of damage onto any of these tanks, and they find themselves in a very bad situation right now.
But it's actually High that has lost the tank. Although you're correct, Deja Vu, they're going to lose nationwide, and the HP deficit that they're in is pretty heavy.
Yeah, and so Aggressor is going to come in here and try to pick up DRS.
And they are. Dershil, huge shot in that grill.
Now here's the thing, is Deja Vu still have more guns alive overall.
Somehow.
That said, Harmless is getting focused out right now,
and
we'll go down.
Is going to find him. My Little Putin going to go down next to Rude Awakening. And now MacTap Putin is also very low. Taken out by Rude Awakening. That's his second pickup of the game. Ali the Persian Dude found Chase. And that is going to be it. High is going to take this map in a pretty convincing fashion, with 3 extra tanks up over Deja Vu as they find these last 2, and I will promise you that they will go down. High is going to take this.
Yeah, now, once again, to go back to it, I've talked about so often about stagnant defenses and why I don't like them, but then earlier I said, I'm not saying by any means group up in a giant ball and just randomly drive around the map.
That's pretty much what that was.
Yeah, pretty much. But the thing is with going that sort of strat, they brought a tier 8 artillery on top of that, and they brought a grill that they left on the other side of the map. So they went into whatever brawl they were going to go into with 5 tanks. And my problem with that is if you're going to go for one of those strats where you're looking for an engagement, you want to have at least 6 of your guns there, so you feel reasonably confident going into an engagement.
That's exactly the reason that I don't like that Lorraine 155-51 on this map. I know why it's there. It's there for resets. I get that. But it's happened more often than not where that Lorraine 155-51 has actually been a detriment more than it's been a benefit.
Yeah, well, the point that I'm getting at, and you're absolutely right, is earlier I said that Deja Vu kind of just bailed out of that push once they saw some of the tanks, and they saw 57s there, they kind of pulled off into the forest and didn't really commit to that engagement. And the reason they did that is because they had 2 guns out of the fight. They only had 5 guns, and they didn't have the intel across the board. They didn't know where the other guns were. They just knew that they only had 5, that they themselves had 5 guns, so they kind of hesitated to really commit to that sort of engagement.
Yeah.
Say that they had brought a Tier 8 light, they could have then moved the grill with the rest of the team, and they could have used that light tank over on the weak flank, and then if they spotted something, they could have known to just commit and go, because that would have been a huge overmatch in favor of Deja Vu if they had recognized it. Because there was 3 tanks for their team.
You even called it.
Yeah, there was 3 tanks on their team on the other side of the map. If they had recognized it and had the intel, they could have created that overmatch, and that game could have been over instantly. However, they didn't. They had their guns kind of split. They hesitated, and just overall it didn't work out for them.
Well, that was probably a very quick victory. Well, I mean, it was a very quick victory, but it might be the fastest of the night, and that was actually high attacking. So if we do actually head to overtime, which will be Ghost Town, the High is gonna have High is gonna have the choice of what side they're gonna want to pick. So
yeah, well, 3.5 minutes is that total round time, and then
it was quick.
Going into the damage here real quick, kind of an interesting story out of High. Looking at it, one of the T-57's Blue Mini got focused out and did no damage that whole game, despite firing only 1 shot. That said, Fulcrest, the other T-57, came in here top with 2,700, Feel My Potato at 2,700 as well. Then that TVP picking up 3 of the kills with 2,100, so good cleanup there out of Rude Awakening. And then looking at the other team, Durgil in that grill, despite coming in late, did 3,400 damage.
Yeah. You could argue, though, that a lot of those were after the fact when the game was already lost.
Exactly. And then My Little Putin, in that Leopard, just not really able to be effective. Now, that being said, My Little Putin's put up some very good damage on the season, so if there was any player that you would expect to play well in a Leopard for a team, it would have been My Little Putin. Sure. And just not able to really get into the fight. And that said, I don't really get the point of bringing a Leopard when you're going to go for a brawl. Like I said earlier, it's not a brawling tank.
It's a tank you want at a distance.
If you want a consistent fire to go with matchups, take a 140 or even a 430, dare I say it. Bring something with a little bit of armor and a good turret and a good brawling gun. But the Leopard just doesn't have the DPM to keep up in those sort of fights.
Yeah, so right before we get into the second half of this map in the series, AM60s actually took it 5-4 over Rival, and Blue Boy did not play for Rival.
Okay. So that said, that's still a very vital point for Rival.
Sure.
That 1 point could go
absolutely.
a very long way for them. So they're going to be happy with that despite going
sitting
down.
at 19 now.
Yeah, exactly. So you got to feel that they are in a much better position. 07 are still going to be hot on their tails, only 1 point behind them now. But that said, at the end of the day, that 1 point could be what saves them come the end of next Tuesday.
I agree with you, and that's great for Rival. Not so great for Aquatic M60s. Now, they needed the win, and they got it. Sure, it was an overtime, and that's only 2 points, though. They could have been within striking distance of Eclipse, and now knowing that they have to face Apex before the end of this round robin, you gotta favor Eclipse to kind of sit in that spot overall.
Yeah, and So for the second time tonight, I am relatively sure that the teams mixed up their sides from what side they're starting on.
Oh, no.
Because Deja Vu were bringing the exact same lineup while attacking.
Oh, no. Why did they have a
So that means last round may have been...
I'm sorry.
Now, whether this was by plan or not...
What is that Lorraine going to do?
At this point, he can hope soften up some of these heavies.
Yeah, with 30 shots?
He's going to have to try. Now, this isn't as bad as a Crusader SP, don't get me wrong. But,
oh, man, I'm sorry.
I'm really curious if this is by design or if they legitimately brought the wrong lineup to the wrong side last round.
I'm really sorry.
So
for a moment, I almost actually thought that Lorraine was a Crusader.
No, I mean, it still doesn't hit as hard. It does flex around. It just doesn't do a whole lot of damage. I much prefer to see the M4043. I think it's...
Oh, yeah, no, me too. I'm sorry. That was just... I haven't had a good laugh like that in a while.
So Aggressor is going to get some intel here and find Feel My Potato. And they're starting to shift up towards the 1-2 line, so that they're going to try to make these tanks rotate in towards the 3 line where the artillery can really pound them.
Share with me, what is the alpha on that 155-51?
It does hit pretty hard. However, it's not as hard as the M4043. It comes in at around, I believe, 1250 for the HE shells, and then the heat shells do, I believe, 900. But don't quote me on that. I don't have it right in front of me right now. It doesn't hit as hard as the M4043. That's the main thing is that M4043's HE shells can one-shot a Batchat, like we've seen happen. In fact, it was Chase Potato in the M4043 that deleted executives on mine the one time.
So I need to actually apologize to Deja Vu. For a second, I thought that when you said the Lorraine, I thought of the Crusader.
Yeah.
I thought of the Crusader, and that's actually the same exact. So this is a flaw on my part. Again, I want to apologize. I thought it was also the Crusader SP. I mixed up the Lorraine and the Crusader on both offense and defense.
Yeah. Now
that is my bad. I will call myself out on it. But even still, I'm really glad that I thought that, because that would have been hilarious.
Yeah. No, I could get why you would be laughing at that. That would be really interesting to see what happens. However, what they're trying to do right now is they're trying to funnel high in towards the 2 line. So when they come back, Chase has free shots. And as I say that, I think that Deja Vu realized that that's not going to happen. And so they're shifting all their tanks out towards the forest, and maybe they're going to try to put a little bit more focus on the 4-line side of things. That said, Aggressor is sitting on cap. Milo Putin is going to go ahead and push out towards B1, open up some shots. And this is a situation that's decent for a Leopard. Shooting at range from a lot of these tanks. He can kind of sit here in a bush or hold down, and he'll have some good shots. The problem is if multiple Batchats, or even just one Batchat, pushes straight out there and comes after him and he doesn't see him soon enough, like I said, the Batchat's going to win that brawl between that and the Leopard.
Yeah.
You know, I want to say as much as 10 times out of 10 if it's a point-blank brawl. Yeah, it would take a huge misplay out of someone to lose to a Leopard in one of those situations.
Oh, well, like you said, it's a tank that you want to be in the back. It's almost like a sniper. It sits in the back. It has a very good gun. It's accurate, and that's what it's meant for. But bringing it to a brawl is a mistake.
Yeah, absolutely. And don't get me wrong, it hits hard, and it's a very quick tank. Not to mention, it's a great-looking tank. Just look at that thing. It's just a beautiful tank.
Just look at that thing. Look at those curves.
Exactly. Just such a beautiful tank.
Can we get a little spin around? Can we get a little spin around on this bad boy? Oh, yeah. Beautiful. Look at the way the sunlight just hits the rear deck of that.
What do we got? Michael Bay over here on the cameras? A little bit of lens flare in the distance. Oh, just perfect.
Very nice.
So, that said, Deja Vu kind of running out of options. They've moved their Batchats over towards the 8 line, and they're trying to open up high with some sort of pincer here. Higher holding pretty firm around this 3-4 line, and they're not really budging. They're not rotating too soon. And they're in just a position where they don't need to panic. The other thing to notice is Blue Mini in that Tier 9 Batchat is actually using the Tier 9 to go passive, as is DRS. So they have 2 Tier 9s, both as passive scouts.
Okay.
Instead of, say, a Tier 8. It's something that we see out of Eclipse a lot, is Tigers and Batchat will be passive.
We have.
But using the 2 Tier 9s to spot for them, and that's going to be hard for Deja Vu to crack. And oddly enough, it looks like they're trying to go for some sort of 2-cap play here.
I am just really interested to see, though, that if this was the wrong pick as far as their offensive and defensive lineup, similar to what we saw with CD earlier.
Yeah, with the tank destroyers.
With the 3 E3s and the 1 E4, yeah.
It's very rare that a team has the same lineup on both sides, which is the main reason why that comes to mind. Now, it could be the case. However,
maybe that's just their lineup for this Aggressor.
It just didn't make a whole lot of sense on defense, and they're actually going to spring the trap.
All right, and this would be a perfect time for a listen-in with Deja Vu.
Shot out.
Arms clipping.
2 cap pressure. Let's go. Get 1 on cap.
Get 1 on cap, please.
I want my Leo playing this by yourself. I'm gonna come up north.
Arms clipping, by the way, in the south.
Yeah, just get a bat on cap.
I'll get on cap, guys. I'll flip.
Okay. Chase is moving outside.
As soon as Harm's lit, I'll put a spot in the bush in the south.
If I get spotted, then I'll probably be.
Yes,
for you.
5 minutes left, guys.
Hey, it's better for you to get on this side of cap.
No, that's right.
I'm okay.
Okay, that's good.
Blind fire where that grill was at. This leopard and grill. Blind fire where that grill was at before.
I'm sorry, guys.
We're reloading.
Nation, try to spot this one.
I am. I'm poking.
Are they flexing around north?
No.
Aggressive, try to spot them. They're like,
I am sitting here.
E5.
They're blinding
Not
cap.
Bad shots.
This is we blind fire these bushes. This is what we need right now. Okay. Okay, go across and I think, no, never mind. Let's see.
You 5-shot me.
So that said, and you gotta like the comms out of
I
Deja Vu.
really
Very-
like those comms. That's probably the most relaxed setting I think we've heard so far.
Yeah, the problem is they don't.
Complete opposite of high.
The problem is they don't know that Blue Mini's still sitting there in that passive bush. Now he doesn't have an angle on MacTap Putin, so he's not going to be able to spot him. However, once Blue does commit when he needs to, you'd have to imagine MacTap will get obliterated. And that moment's going to be right now.
There's a shot onto Blue Mini from Harmless. He's going to land another one. Blue Mini now is trying to retreat. Harmless actually not going to press the issue because he was lit, but he is finding shots across onto Feel My Potato.
So that said, Deja Vu deciding to back off a little bit. They do have a gun lead. However, HP is only in their favor by about 1,000, and they only have 3 minutes left to work with.
And every tank, aside from Rude Awakening, so they're only down one tank for high, is up. And that's going to make this difficult.
So a little bit of a fun fact for you. MacTap is actually the Russian word for master. So his name, in theory, is Master Putin, as opposed to MacTap. However, MacTap is what it says, and it is easier to read. So you kind of got to wonder about their heritage and the fact that they have 2 people with Putin in their name on this team.
Yep. And Aggressor did get taken out, by the way.
Yeah, well, they tried to make this push through the north. However, they have a Leopard 1 up there as one of the guns. He's just getting all sorts of beaten up.
My Little Putin finding Feel My Potato. And that Leopard 1, again, finding good shots in the distance. He is going to miss Magenta Panda, though.
Well, we fired a heat shell and he hit the track, so it fizzed out. Didn't do any damage. That said, Blue Mini's just going to come in here and just clean up my Little Putin.
Yep, one more shot is going to do it. And down he goes. It's now 4-on-5 for Deja Vu in their favor, but they only have 1 minute and 35 seconds left. However, the cap pressure is approaching 10 seconds. There it is. It's now sub 10 with 8 seconds left. Can they find the reset and potentially run away? This could be very close. There's one reset found, but it isn't on the tank that needs to be found. And whoa, what just happened? 3 tanks just deleted by high. They are now very much in the lead. What was that?
That was a bunch of autolitters coming off clip at the same time and pushing in. Deja Vu almost capped out there. However, the Batchat managed to get onto his clip, come in there, kill the Artie.
But that was...
And get a reset on the Nationwide.
That was crazy.
So a lot of low HP tanks, and that's what happens when you have that burst fire. You can come in, you can pump out shells, and you can take someone out very quickly.
I'm sure Fulcrus also had something to do with that.
Yeah, and the thing is even if they get Fulcrus right now, their 2 tanks have just driven away and they're driving to opposite corners. So this round is pretty much over.
Nope, this is
High
over.
Should pick up a 3rd one tonight.
Wow, 3-1 for High now. So I was incorrect on the scoreline that I predicted against 07 and Eclipse. However, I did get the team right. This could be the same situation where I predicted the team, but the score, and score is probably the hardest thing to predict, I think.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And
I'm getting, this is like, I think 4 or 5 in a row if I get this one right as well.
now, the other thing to look at is the next map that we're going into, Ghost Town, is actually one of Deja Vu's most played maps.
That is true.
And also one of their best maps.
That is true.
And this is not one of High's best maps or most played maps.
So it could be potentially tied 3-3, and then if I was correct, the map after that, which is going to be Mines, which High actually have done well.
Yep, they've had some very good games on it. And it's a map that Deja Vu don't tend to play a whole lot. In fact, they've only played Mines. Take that back. They've actually played Mines a lot this season, coming in at around.
You are a liar, sir.
They've actually played Mines 18 times so far this season.
That would not fit my definition of not a whole lot.
Yeah, definitely. So that said, they need to get there first because we might not even go to Mines. If High can win 2 rounds on Ghost Town right now, they can win the series here and now.
That's it. So real quick, though, to review the damage, Magenta Panda for High doing 3,700, and then Fulcrus following, and with DRS, oddly enough, Ali the Persian dude at the bottom, and this is the second time now we've seen him not towards the top. He is the most consistent as far as damage goes for high, but Harmless pulling 5,300 damage for his team. 5,300 damage, and then My Little Putin only pulling 17. I say only because I think that's Harmless pretty much hijacking all the damage for Deja Vu.
Yeah, I mean, that's an insane amount of damage that Harmless was able to get through that game. 5,300, 19 shots fired. And then the
most
next best
unfitting name. He was not harmless at all.
Yeah, and then the next is Malo Putin and that Leopard, only able to do 1,700, so just not really able to get into the fight. And then Magenta Panda for his team, 3,700, and Fulcrus sitting right there at 2,200.
So something I want to note, High just called the timeout. And we literally, this is a Deja Vu situation. Har, har, har. I'm so funny. This is a mirrored situation of what we saw from 07 in Eclipse, where 07 was up 3-1. Try not to laugh too hard. When 07 was up 3-1, and they actually called the timeout.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You're right.
And that's, I really like this play from High in calling the timeout. They can get everything together. Again, they can realize what they're going to do on the next map. Maybe they're a little, wouldn't want to say like too excited or amped up, but sometimes when you're winning, it gets the better of you, and then you feel a little too overconfident. This is a way for them to kind of take that back and really assess the situation in the next map.
Yeah, definitely. And so, looking at it, with it being Ghost Town up next, High are starting off attacking.
Okay.
Which has been something they've struggled with. And
yeah, you're right.
With this being one of Deja Vu's most played maps,
Correct.
You kind of got to favor them, at least in this round. So it would not be too hard to imagine the series being 3-3 all of a sudden.
Mm-hmm.
And then, going forward, like you just said, the next map's Mines. And then the tiebreaker, like we said earlier, is Ghost Town
again. And that's the last thing High wants. Yeah, if they can't take it now, what's going to help them in overtime?
Yeah, and High right now, High need 3 points. They need a win here. They need to. This would be what they needed to try to avoid relegation, to maybe make the online playoffs still. At the very least, High's main focus should just be trying to get to the 7th spot at this point to have a chance to stay in the Gold League at this point. No one wants to be in that 8th place spot. No one wants to just be automatically relegated down. You can ask Dwight exactly how that feels.
Oh.
So
Why are you hurting me like that? Why are you hurting Dwight?
Just saying. I mean, when you get relegated, it's a certain feeling that I just have never gone through. So
well, yeah, that's because you've never even been here.
Fair, but I haven't been relegated either, though. So
I guess I see your point. Either way, High needs this win, and they need 3 points. They overtime would help them. Sure, you could argue that, but they need to have 3 points just to be at 15, just to be tied with some of the other teams.
Yep. And just a short note there, because Dwight, I know you're out there, nothing but love. But that said, you gotta imagine High need points out of this match.
Yes. All right. Well, let's get right into it. The next map between High and Deja Vu.
Ghost Town. The first absolutely symmetrical map, made especially for 7 versus 7 games. The teams start the battle on opposite sides. There are numerous ways to attack here. One of the bases is located in the central square, the other one at the top of the city. The hardest battles are usually fought for the top base, and this calls for the use of heavy tanks. Sometimes the teams choose fast tanks for spotting and base capturing.
And here we go on to battle number 5. High coming in with 3 T-57s, a 50B, an IS-7, a Batchat, and a RU-251. Meanwhile, Deja Vu coming in with a 113, an IS-7, 3 50Bs, and 2 Batchat APs. So not a whole lot of consistent fire out of either team, opting for a very auto-litter-heavy lineups out of both teams, for that matter. The 113 and IS-7 do bring a little bit of armor, but 3 50Bs and 2 Batchats, that is a lot of burst. And overall, they're just kind of set up pretty aggressively all over the map as far as Deja Vu goes. Meanwhile, in the north, High just kind of spurting out, maybe trying to find, open up some different lanes, try to force some cap pressure one way or another, and make Deja Vu push through their guns. Magenta Panda in that Batchat's actually rotating out to the backfield to join DRS, and we may see him. Meanwhile, Ali the Persian dude seeing if he can climb up that wall and discovering he can't.
Sorry, buddy.
Now they're just going to turn around and drive back towards the south. Meanwhile, Blue is taking the long way, and he'll actually be able to get onto Cap relatively unspotted. However, Chase Potato's in a pretty good position and might have some eyes on him as he comes around this corner.
Yeah, that IS-7 is going to be very difficult to dig out of that position, especially on the other side of that defilade. The front armor of this tank is incredibly hard to penetrate, but all they need is a little damage to get that reset, so I'm curious to see how this works out. I also really want to see how High is going to support this IS-7.
Yeah, absolutely, and they've actually pulled most of the tanks back 4 high towards the north, and they're all grouped up right now, and they're hoping that Deja Vu have to make some sort of aggressive play to get the resets, especially with Blue Mini on Cap. He's going to be very hard to reset. That IS-7 has a very good turret and can sit there and hold down for a good while, and so unless they find some HE shells and are able to reset him, whether it be by damaging his gun or just getting some splash damage on his turret, they're going to need to make some sort of play to get the reset here soon.
All right, and Blue Mini is lit. It's no secret of where he is on that
he's
Cap.
been lit off and on since he got there, and so they know he's there. It's just a matter of trying to find a reset.
And we are seeing the team of Deja Vu slowly start to collapse on High. They are right around the C and D lines towards the eastern but middle side of the map. Right down that 6 line is exactly where you can see most of this action is going to happen when, and if at this point, Deja Vu is a little too complacent here with not getting that reset. I mean, it is at 43 seconds, but this is also giving High a great position to get into.
Yeah, absolutely, and DRS did take a little bit of damage.
Oh, wait a second, though.
They're actually using DRS to try to screen the HE shells for Blue. The Cap's at 10
seconds left. With only 7, 6, 5 seconds, there's a reset. Let's get a listen in right now with High. Let's see what's going on.
Point of east, guys. Point of east. They're yellowing in.
I'm clipping.
Alright, you're at the back up. Yeah.
Hey, Nation, yo.
57s,
50B.
Nice. 50B, you're clipping. One more shot.
We'll get third zone.
I got. Aggressive.
Can I get help? Guys, coming.
How long do you clip?
10 seconds out.
Alright. You want to take food actually? No, push anyway.
I got food.
Aggressor.
Track nationwide,
yeah.
so you can easily kill him.
You got nice. I have 2 seconds on him.
Blue.
Can you kill him?
Nice.
Alright, now get chase.
I'm coming in, I have 1 shot.
Reloading. 40 seconds.
Coming in. They have 2 tanks left. Just,
50
guys, I'm coming in with the flanks.
Yeah. Play safe, guys. Play safe.
How many did the 50B fire?
He shot 2. He's in the cubby. We can push this on.
Let me reload.
Yeah, just push in on the 113.
No, Blue, relax. Just go back into Cap.
Just wait for guys with HP to do the pushing.
I have 23 seconds on clip. We're just gonna take the guaranteed win here and not rush in.
I'm clipped.
Oh, nice.
Genta, you can probably go in, to be honest.
Yeah, I have 13.
It's gonna take the 50B at least 4 to kill you.
Yeah.
Just get the 113.
Well, I have 7 seconds on my
They can't
clip.
reset me right now.
So interesting comms out of High as always.
Here's the thing. I was just about to say before Blue decided to get a little ahead of himself. Comms from High greatly cleaned up from last time, and then immediately all hell breaks loose when Blue gets a little crazy.
Yep, and for those that haven't played on a team at this sort of level before, or just in these sort of team environments such as Clan Wars, while that may sound like a lot to some people, you heard multiple people talking at the same time. The thing I love about it is, for the most part, it was all relevant information.
Yeah.
It was multiple people trying to talk over to each other. And there was a lot of useful information the whole time. There was, one person asking for how many shots one tank's fired, and you hear someone say it in the background.
Blue was counting all of those.
Yeah, but you also, on top of that, you have people trying to figure out what we should do. This tank's going over here. I need fire on this. And it's all going on at the same time. And so it takes a little bit of an extra effort to really be able to sit there and listen and pick out exactly what you need out of those situations and to be effective in them. And they managed to get the coordination they need. They are now 4-1, and it could be High that walk away with a 5-1 victory, which would be the second upset you'd have to feel tonight.
It's almost Ali the Persian Dude burger delicious when you get 2 upsets in one night. You know what I'm saying? And so far, that's what we're in store for. I don't really know what High is doing so well right now that's working against Deja Vu. I think it's more Deja Vu having a few missteps, especially on a map that they're easily favored on.
Well, and they've really kind of struggled as of recently. They had some good games, like I said, early on in the season. They had a great match versus Apex, and then after that, it's kind of just been a lot of misfires, I guess you could call it.
Actually, you're completely correct. Ever since that really close series between Apex, Deja Vu have been stumbling.
Yeah, and looking at the damage here, Putin able to do 3,300, Chase Potato on that 113 at 3,100, but then it just drops off for the rest of the team after that.
Yeah, and then for Rude Awakening coming in for High, and Magenta Panda, Ali the Persian dude finally getting towards the top again, but still not quite at the tippy top. Still consistency over the entire team of High, and really well done. Now they have to just defend on this map of Ghost Town, and I don't know.
So something, I just looked down at my notes real quick.
Very intrigued to see how this one's going to go.
To further support my claim that Deja Vu have kind of dropped off this second round robin, the second round robin, this is their 5th match, they have picked up 4 points.
That's not very good, James.
So they have 22 points on the season, which means 18 of that came from the first round robin, but only 4 in the second. So
that's not very good.
They've kind of slowed down in the second half. It's not without claim
for whatever reason, and their roster hasn't even changed really.
It's changed now.
Well, now, but this is all before even the roster changed.
Yeah. So just and the other thing to keep an eye on is of the people that Deja Vu lost, they lost Belush to real life commitments. He had a lot of stuff going on, and from what I know, he was involved heavily in the early season.
Belush
was with the strats, and so maybe
involved,
losing him has kind of helped slow things down as well.
Similar to what happened to High with DRS, having to step out for real life issues. I mean, even though he's here tonight, he's been absent.
Yep, and so looking at it, Blue in the 113, 2 T57s, 250Bs, a Batchat, and an RU-251. So nothing too crazy out of High, though still bringing 5 autoloaders. So autoloaders seem to be the meta on Ghost Town right now.
Autoloaders are taking over the meta on a lot of maps, but then we see 3 T57s, an IS-7, a Grill, and then 2 Batchat Tier 9s for Deja Vu.
Yeah, absolutely. And, looking at it, High are keeping a pretty tight defense. A lot of teams have been favoring aggressive 3-line plays. However, Apex earlier today showed us exactly how to break them.
Yeah, I mean, almost in textbook fashion as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And so now High just sitting here in this defense, DRS just sitting up here nice and high on the high ground where he can get some good resets. Can't light cap, but he can sit there and blind fire it, or he can shoot whatever other people light. So it seems to be a pretty good spot so far this season.
Ali the Persian dude, though, needs to be careful. He's already lost half of his HP. And I'm trying to find out from where, actually.
So Chase was lit getting on the cap. DRS will keep the blind fire up, trying to get some resets, and as long as he can do that, then High don't have too much to worry about. However, they have lost almost 1,400 HP right now.
High is bleeding. Not too bad, but still, I mean, with only a minute 30 out of the map time, you don't want one of your tanks and almost 2 of them being at half HP.
Yeah, absolutely. And so right now they've just have that I-7 still on cap, and Magtap Putin's trying to make a play around the south. Blue's still holding the north here. Someone needs to find a reset in the near future. They still have over a minute. However, they need to make sure they have plenty of time to adjust and react if it comes to it. And I'm not a big fan of leaving it to 10 or 15 seconds, especially when they're this out of position. Besides DRS, they don't really have anyone in position that can get those resets easily.
Right.
So,
and that's an IS-7.
Yeah, so exactly. So at this point, you need to find a way to reset it. And there we go. There's a nice HE reset, and now High can just slow it down again. And they've started to chip away at the HP a little bit, and they've evened it back up.
Blue Mini, though, again, taking damage. Now him and Ali the Persian dude are a half HP and below.
Yep, and when I say even it back up, I actually mean High's still down by about 2,000, so but Blue Mini and Ali the Persian dude both, like you said, lost a lot of HP, and Ali the Persian dude actually has a dead driver, so going to be a little bit sluggish getting around.
Yeah, I mean, he's gonna It's going to essentially look like me trying to get in the studio today. Slow.
And
so, I mean, High, they need to be careful in the way that they approach this as well, because they don't want to just throw away a tank. And it's not going to be DRS in a Tier 8 light. It's going to be one of the Tier 10s. And as I say that, Blue Mini is 19 HP away from sitting on the bench.
he poked up trying to find a light on a cap, and it was the grill of Durgil that hit him.
44 seconds, and down he goes. And on that note, let's take a listen in with High.
Aim for his gun.
Do we have resets or do we need to push?
I need them lit.
Get a batch check.
Just
Get the batch check to go
blind-
here. Get
start
the
blind
batch check to
firing.
go to here. The batch check can go to here.
Only. Okay.
TVD sets movement line.
Yeah, blind it.
Movement line.
Go with Denji.
Focus.
He's the very back of cap.
Yeah, it's. I can't light him. He's too low.
But there you go.
He's there.
Oh, okay.
You got it?
He's really hull down. I don't think I'm going to be able to get it, to be honest.
Just keep it 18 him. That's useful. Nice.
Nice.
Okay, I got it.
That's fine. All
Okay, so
they're gonna
we need
push
a-
through
we
here.
need
They're
a
gonna push
group.
through here.
We
They're
need
gonna
a
push through here.
group.
We need to get ready. Magenta back out. Magenta back out. Go to the crane. Magenta go to the crane.
We need a group and be ready for this.
Yeah. Leave a dude here. Leave a dude here. If we leave a dude there, we get a good crossfire.
What are our like their HP? I haven't been seeing
They
the
have more
bleeding.
HP than we do.
They have more HP, but they have a grill, so if they push in, the grill's not going to do as much.
We need
as
to
long
just
as
keep resetting, even
Yeah.
when, like...
Yep.
There you go.
Nice. Like, if he's still in the same spot, you can shoot it every now and then.
Yeah,
Here's how much
I only
time
have
do you have left?
10.
10? Play it safe. Wait till, like, it gets to 30 or 40. We can also have the bat chat. The bat chat can come this way and just do a scout run this way to light him.
I'll bleed for that, but yes.
Are you sure? I think you can do it.
No,
Like, if they're not prepared and they don't light too early, look, they play it safe. Alright, Magenta, go for the Magenta, go for the light.
We want them to push
No,
in.
just blind
so
fire.
that
Oh, not
we
yet,
can
not
kill
yet.
them.
Blind fire.
Yeah, blind fire, like, a bit.
Nice.
Nice.
There you go. Now wait.
They're off. They're off.
Yeah, they got off. They
push me.
We need to get one dude. We have nothing watching this really.
Yeah.
No, the Rue's watching it.
Oh, yeah.
I can't light it.
You can't light that far. Like, they could sneak up on Dandy right now.
Alright, I'll go.
Dandy, you want to get out of it. Dandy, get out of it right now.
Yeah, Dandy, come.
Again, useful information being passed through.
Yep, and so what that reminds me of is back in the day, and I'm talking back once again.
Tell me back in the day, old James.
Like, 7 or 8 seasons ago, 742 days, and, a little bit after that. Their main caller, Mac G, was known for what's got turned into what was called the Mac attack, where they had an insane win rate if he was the first one dead in a match. So if he died early, they had like a 95% chance to win the rest of their matches.
That just because he could take more control over spectating his team? I'm
exactly.
assuming?
He could jump around and he could really micro everything. That's kind of what Blue reminded me of to an extent. There is, he's dead. He's able to look around and he's saying, all right, well, we're not covering this or that, and you don't hear the same thing out of Blue when he's still driving his tank.
Correct.
And
No,
sitting
you're
around.
right. You're absolutely right.
And
ooh, little double cap pressure here.
So now this is clever out of Deja Vu. This is really going to force Deja or High to make some sort of a play in some direction. And
well, I mean, you could argue that the one cap is safe for them because they just continually get these resets on Chase, and that's just because he hasn't moved. But the 2 cap is going to be a problem.
However, Deja Vu have the HP lead by a sizable amount right now, so any sort of push that comes out of High, you can't see going in their favor.
No, and 15 seconds left on cap. High need to get this reset, but if they're going to do it, they're going to pay for it. And there it is, Aggressor taking out Feel My Potato. Ali the Persian dude trading out Mactep, Putin, and Durgil right back with full Chris. 1 second left. Is that going to be it? No! What a shot! Ali the Persian dude gets right around the corner and he finds it. Rude Awakening finds Harmless. This is doable for High. Ali the Persian dude is going to fall down though from that flank. Magenta Panda now is pretty much left alone to try to deal with both of those tanks on cap as Chase Potato and My Little Putin charge forward. It unfortunately is doable as I thought it was before losing those 2 tanks back to back. It's over. High is going to have to give this one up.
Absolutely, and DRS still up here trying to get what damage he can. However, it caps at 8 seconds, so we should see Deja Vu pick up a second round, and that is going to take us to our 4th map of the tonight. Which this is actually going to be the first time that we've seen this map played tonight, and that's going to be Mines.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, again, really good on. It was good on high to have the defense that they had set up, and they're trying to be patient. But Deja Vu have the time to figure out how to crack that and how to put a little more pressure on high to make them make mistakes, and that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, absolutely. And overall, I do like the decision there out of Deja Vu. Those are the sort of plays that we saw out of them when they were playing well. Is the smart decisions to understand, all right, well, this is going on. All right, so let's just get cap pressure going on this other cap and make them rotate through. And that's, the sort of decision-making that we hadn't really seen out of them as of late. Like I said, they only have 4 points from 5 games up until this point. So you kind of got to wonder what's going on with that team right now.
Well, whatever it is, they seem to have fixed it this one battle, but they're going to need to do that overall because they're still down 4-2. High just needs 1, and with the next map coming up, I think High can close it out potentially on either offense or defense.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and they just need 1 round. Their defense before has been extremely solid, however, a little bit too passive for my liking. And just looking at the damage here, Rude Awakening top of his team at 1,900, and then Ally the Persian Dude at 1,600, and then Fulcrus and Magenta and Feel My Potato just all trailing off after that. But on the other end, Malo Putin coming in at 4,100, Durgel coming in at 3,700, and then Harmless and Nationwide sitting there at 1,400 and 1,100. So, overall, good stuff out of Deja Vu. I like the decision making there to make them really rotate through their guns.
Yeah.
It was just a very good play. They realized, all right, well, we can't cap out on this cap. So what we'll do is we'll kind of leave their attention here for a little bit, and then we'll just go put a ton of cap pressure on the other cap and make them have to come up with some sort of reaction very quickly. And overall, it worked out in favor of Deja Vu. So they bring it back 4-2. However, High are only 1 round away from walking away with the series and the big 3 points that they need.
Yeah, they desperately need these 3 points. Sitting at 12 right now, they are at the very bottom of the league, and the next team separation of points is 3, and I mean it's at 15. So they have to win, and they have to win this within the next game or 2, because if they don't, it's not looking good for High as far as just surviving. But we'll have to. It's all going to be down to this map, essentially, for High as we head right into it.
Mines, a small summertime map with lots of hills, rocks and other cover. The teams start the battle in the usual locations, but the base locations are different. One is located in the bottom part of the village, and the other one is in the water. One of the key objectives is the center hill. That's why the teams will often select fast vehicles and tanks with strong turrets for cover.
So going over the lineups here, High coming in with 2 113s, 3 Batchats, a TVP, and a RU-251. Meanwhile, Deja Vu, an IS-4, 2 Bats,
a lot of
2
autoloaders,
TVPs, and 2 Tier 9 Bats. Now, something to look at here, High need 1 win out of these next 2 rounds to close this out in regulation. However, overall on Mines, they are 3 and 13 on the season.
I'm sorry, say that one more time?
High are 3 and 13 on this map overall in the season.
Fulcrus as well as DRS fighting early shots onto Harmless. He's going to take about almost 800 points of damage.
So kind of interesting, out of Deja Vu, they've given up a lot of the map control. They didn't really contest the hill, and they're playing very aggressive in the 1 line, and that's causing Harmless to pretty much get caught out here.
Oh, Harmless is not in a favorable position right now. But My Little Putin and the Putin brothers are actually trying to get something to happen so that Harmless can get out of there, as they're now set up to crossfire on DRS, Fulcrus, as well as out of the Persian. If he comes in, Fulcrus taking a lot of damage. He's going to go down, but DRS is going to find Harmless.
And Deja Vu are just throwing away so much HP right now.
But so is High.
And now, Ally the Persian
is just going for the chase. He knows both of those autoloaders have to reload. And MaxTac one of the Putins is about to go down.
The thing that was most amusing to me there is Ali the Persian dude was shooting at My Little Putin, and then it switched targets after firing one shot and started shooting Mactap Putin instead.
That is something you would totally do too.
And My Little Putin's getting focused out now. There's still 6 guns alive, 4 high.
Can we just get a listen in with high real quick?
GG.
There we go, GG. You're a cap. Thank you. The easy, dude.
My little Putin's offline.
Easy. I told you, they like taking that so much.
Little Putin.
Dude, they're so
So, as you can hear, they've done their homework. Blue felt pretty confident about what they were going to do. And is Nationwide going to go for a dive?
Nationwide! Oh, my goodness.
Nationwide is on your side?
Not on his side, no. I still can't believe, I'm sitting here imagining Ali the Persian dude be like, all right, wait a second, slowly turning.
No, he comes down there and he starts shooting at the first bat shot.
He just went straight
and then I was sitting there, I was like, hey, that's Mactap Putin next to him. Then all of a sudden you just see his gun
you see his gun just snap.
Next, and he just starts firing at him.
So that's so Ali the Persian dude, man. I'm telling you.
That was pretty good stuff.
5-2. I was close. I said 5-3.
I said 5-3, but for the opposite team. So
you said 5-1.
No,
I think
I said 5-3.
Did you? Because I said 5-3 in favor. Okay. Anyways, we're arguing over semantics. I was right. High won. They needed it, and they got it. Now they played really well. Blue doing his homework in the very last map. For Mines, knew exactly what Deja Vu was going to do, and lucky for him, they didn't change it up, and they were so ready for that play.
Yeah, and overall, I was wrong with my prediction, and this is our second upset of tonight, essentially.
Feels good, man. Well, for us watching and casting.
Yeah, I
love, for the teams that
I love
upset.
surprises like these, honestly. And these are a big 3 points for High that's going to put them right back into that picture. They have a chance to still stay up.
Yes.
They needed a result tonight. However, looking at it going forward, if I can find it in my notes real quick, next week they have High have M60s on Thursday.
Tough.
And then Rival on Tuesday.
Again, the way Rival is playing, tough.
So, this was definitely a big 3 points, and it gives them a little chance. However, they still need a result versus their M60s or Rival.
So I'm noticing a trend with this Gold League this season. Both round robins coming down to the very last couple days to decide who's actually going to go home. This is exciting stuff.
Yep, and looking at it, Rude Awakening during the last battle coming in at 3,300 damage. DRS, Feel My Potato, and Ali the Persian Dude, 2,800, 1,900, and 1,100. And poor little Fulcrus and that RU-251 was kind of the bait out in front who got caught out. However, the rest of his team really able to get in there and do a good bit of damage after he went down. That said, Aggressor top on his team at 2,500, Nationwide at 2,000, and then it just pretty much trails off after there. And poor little Harmless got caught out trying to do a little climb there along the 4 line. Yeah. Got stuck in the low ground, and they were just able to sit there and abuse him and take him out.
I almost want to think what would have happened if Ali the Persian Dude made the same decision and that actually hurt his team just because he wanted to kill Mactap. I mean, it didn't, but...
it was pretty entertaining to watch.
I'm going to ask. Ali the Persian Dude is going to be joining us right now. Ali, so in that very last push that you actually made against the Putin brothers, we noticed that you took your first shot on My Little Putin, and then immediately your gun snapped to Mactap. Was that a conscious decision just to take him out first as a little bit of revenge?
I remembered him leaving me, betraying my team, betraying my brothers, and I focused the crap out of him, and I wanted him dead. I couldn't kill him, but I focused crap out of him.
That's actually the second time we noticed that you did that tonight.
Yeah, pretty good stuff overall, though. But, with 3 match days left, this was 3 points that you guys really needed. But your next 2 matches are pretty tough. So how do you feel going into this? Because you really need results at this point.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's going to be like an all or nothing. We need those points. We need to get into playoffs. But I think we've been doing really well this game. I attribute that to, I think we let Blue call a little bit more freely. We're being a little bit more flexible. We're not being as static as we normally are. We're kind of doing more crazy things, being more fluid. So that's what I think Blue did a good job calling tonight.
Absolutely, I agree. And overall, your comms were well. I'll say this: they were a hell of a lot less toxic tonight, and it showed because Blue was able to have a little more free range as far as calling. You guys were also giving really good information to him, and he was processing it well enough to give you guys the right decision to make.
So, one other thing I want to ask you real quick, Ali, and this is more towards you personally, I guess. Earlier, I was talking about the whole Mac attack. If you know the concept back in the day, do you feel that Blue Mini does a better job when he's dead and he can micro as a caller as opposed to when he's alive?
I think so, because he'll have because he's focusing solely on his play. That's why we put him at tier 8 in the first place, because we don't want him to, because he's mostly focusing on his play, so he'll be able to focus more on his play when he's dead. But that's definitely not something we're going to try to make him dead. So that.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
All right, man. Well, congratulations on your win tonight. You still have one hell of a tough road ahead of you in Aquatic M60s and Arrival, but we wish you the best, man.
Thank you.
All right. Well, there it is. 2 upsets for